Welcome to the DMF. I'm Justin Younts. This is part three.
Talk about like learning editing.
So,
I know we're
in
taking a
a
kind of a
book
detour here, but
context here, editing is editing is like learning for me. So, when I was doing my trunk novels, there was a lot I didn't know about storytelling. I mean, I'd have friends that would come up to me, "Oh, I'm going to write a book just like you did," and things like that. And it's like, don't quit your day job just yet, though, okay? Because it's not going to be good. You've
yeah,
got to work on this. I mean, there's some people who can just blow through a novel. They just have such a good sense of story and description that maybe they can do it, but I can't. And
that's what I
so,
wanted to ask you about the pantser thing. For those
oh,
that
okay.
don't know what that is, can we just describe that a little bit?
Yeah, so you've got two kinds of writing. You've got people who outline, which
Mm,
basically means you create a whole bullet list of items you want to tell in your story, beats that you want to have in there. And you might create a three-act structure and fill it out like that, or you might come up with some other structure, but you're coming up with a full outline of how your story is going to play out so that you know beginning to end how it's going to go. Pantsing, on the other hand, is flying by the seat of your pants. That's where the term comes from. And so for those kind of people, and this is kind of the style like what Stephen King writes in. He's just got such an ingrained sense of story and format that he doesn't have to outline it. He might have an idea of how it's going to go in his brain, but he doesn't have it outlined. He just starts writing and he lets the story flow. And if it takes him over here, it takes him over here or there, and he lets the story come out as he writes it.
mm,
And that's a really fun way to write if you can do that. And I've experimented both ways. I find that when I am a pantser, my stories have a lot more issues with them. When I write with an outline, but I still allow the story to maybe tug at me a little, but within the bounds that I've set, I'm able to get through a story so much faster and easier and tighter, and then I don't have as much editing to go back through, and I don't get that writer's block or get stuck on something. And
yeah.
like I had this one that I did. It's called Swing Low, Hangman of the Woods. I wrote it under BC Crow. I'm actually redoing it and releasing it under my actual name here in the next few months. But that one I did as a pantsing novel, and that one was tough. I got blocked so many times on that one because I didn't know how to end it. And
Mm.
that's one of the reasons I had to go back through and rewrite it because the ending I came up with was terrible. Like it made sense in my mind and everything, but I'm the only one who got it. Even though I tried to
Yeah.
foreshadow everything, it didn't work as good for me because it didn't have the payoffs that I needed it to, and people got confused by it. So
When you're releasing these books, does are you able to get back some of the money? Because you put a lot of money into this.
I do put a lot of money into it. I probably I mean, if you figure in my time being
Yeah.
factored into it, these books could cost me anywhere around $30,000 to make because, like I said, I do 12 drafts of them. I mean, there's a lot of time that goes into these. And then I pay editors to help me with them. And then there's marketing that comes after that. And for the most part, no, I don't get my money back out of them.
Okay.
And that's something that I hope to change
Mm.
in the future, but there's things that I'm still learning, like the marketing end of it. They talk about Facebook ads and doing different types of marketing for that, and I haven't really found the secret sauce on all of that yet. I'm still working on that, I but I it's one of those things that I can't stop doing because I'm not making money. And I
Yeah.
kind of went into it knowing that I wouldn't make money for a while until people started realizing who I am and that my stories are any good. And that's why I did do that 10-year plan that I spoke to a bit earlier was I needed to find a way to be financially solvent to help me through those first few years while my brand name was getting recognized. And the idea is that yes, I will eventually become uh, sustained through the sale of my books and hopefully through the sale of my movies when I can start making those. And
Yeah.
yeah, there. but yeah, it's not an immediate thing, and it does take some time.
Do you see an upward progression of where it is, or is it stagnant? Where do you see it? Just
No,
roughly.
I do see an upward progression, and like
Okay.
anything, it's learning the skills, learning the trade, and it's building an audience. If I mean, if you had my book next to someone well known, say Clive Cussler in the bookstore, and you know you like Clive Cussler, you don't know who Brent Lindstrom is, which one are you going to pick? But the more that you hear about Brent Lindstrom and the more that maybe other people talk about Brent Lindstrom, the more you're going to say, you know what? I like Clive Cussler, but I know what all his stories are like. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this one a try. So there's a little bit of buildup that needs to happen on that, and it is a progression.
Yeah.
And for instance, once you have my book, One for the Money, Two for the Soul, you're gonna see what kind of a storyteller I'm at. I do write in different genres, so the genre might be a little bit different, but you're gonna get a feel that maybe I like his style of storytelling and you're willing to try my next book. But that's the other thing is if you're writing a lot of books, but like if you just write one standalone novel, someone might read it, they like you, and then it's 2 years before you release a new book, they're gonna forget all about you and you lose all that momentum, which is
Yeah.
why I didn't release One for the Money, Two for the Soul until this year, because I knew that if I released it this year, I'd have my next book, this one, coming
Mm.
out this spring, and so you'd have something to move into, and the more books you can move into and, read by me, the more you're gonna remember me, and then next time if you go to the bookstore and you see a Clive Cussler and a Brent Lindstrom, you're gonna say, "I like both of those. Which one do I wanna read
Yeah.
more?" And then you can make an informed decision, and people yeah, it's a slow progression, and there's just a lot that goes into it. I mean, it's the same in the film world. I mean, most people who become directors and different things, they probably didn't start out as directors. You know, they
Yeah.
started out doing their own little things and they built up until they got recognized and were hired on by these bigger production companies. I mean, what take take that recent movie Sketch by Seth Worley.
Mm.
So I remember watching YouTube videos from him when he was doing short films, when he was being sponsored by Red Giant,
Yeah.
and he was eventually able to hone his craft and get more recognition. And then he finally was able to make the movie that he did, and I think that was an incredibly successful movie.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
another example of that, somebody who came from the YouTube community, Chris Stuckman. He's a YouTube reviewer, and he's now just made his first feature film, Shelby Oaks, and it's was presented by Neon. So I mean, like you're seeing that there. I wanted to talk a little bit about that, about starting a YouTube channel. But before we get to that, I wanted to ask about, because you said that having it on the shelf. Do you feel it's important to have the physical copy to be out there?
um, for me, I do. Uh, it's going to be hard to actually get it on the bookshelves of Barnes and Noble
Yeah.
until you get a little more recognized. I mean, excuse me.
Mm.
When you do get into some of these smaller communities, the booksellers, they're willing to work with indie
Okay.
authors in the local areas, but you're not going to get nationwide distribution through there. Like my books, if you go to Barnes and Noble anywhere in the country, you can order it in through there, or you can order it online through them, but you're not going to just get it stocked there generally until they recognize that you're a familiar brand. But I find that I do like to have a physical copy available, and it's no harder to make a physical copy than it
Really?
is an ebook or an audiobook. But you have a lot of people who still value the book. And then say you're out in your community, I know people, they'll be like, "Oh, you're an author. Do you have any books that I can read?" And I can just actually hand them a physical copy, and they're like, "Wow, great. Where do I give it back to you when I'm done?" I'm like, "Don't give it back to me. Just
Yeah.
share it with somebody else and let them read it, and, if you really wanna do me any favor, just leave a review online somewhere on Amazon or on Goodreads or somewhere and
Yeah.
let people know about it." That's all I care about because the more people know about your stuff, the more momentum it can build, which is why, at the
Yeah,
end of this episode, I wanna make sure that everyone knows how they can actually get this book for free
absolutely.
just for being one of your listeners.
Okay,
But,
great.
um but
Um,
yeah, yeah. Oh, go ahead,
for
sorry.
for 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 me, I'm kind of the opposite. I've reached the point where I can't really buy any more physical books because it's just like I've got so many now. So I've kind of, embraced the Kindle just because I can have as many as I want. I've got probably, thousands now of that. And it's fast. I don't have to, if I need to read your book now, I can go straight to it and get to it. Like right here. There it is. Here's my Kindle. It's like right up there. Um, so I'm kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's a generation thing where, my generation is looking at it like, what's the difference? But when you talk to real readers, they really do they talk about the importance of having the physical book. For me, it's more about the information and getting it and being able to do it when I need to do it. I like that. I see that going the way of like video games. You've got the Nintendo DS. You can play it on the TV or you can play it in your hand. You get to make the decision. The same thing with movies. Do you want to watch it at home or do you want to go to the movie theater? I think that this is kind of like the natural uh, design designed for it. So I don't know, but I found that fascinating that you said that it doesn't cost anymore to do an ebook over a physical copy.
Yeah, and your margins can be similar. It depends
Mm,
on how you structure, the release of those, but also, I like to think that, uh, there's a market for both, and they're not
mm,
always the same market. So
yeah,
I agree, like with you. I read a lot of ebooks, but I
yeah,
also read physical books. But I like one of the things that I'm really into is audiobooks because I can just jump in the car and go
yeah.
commuting, and I don't have to buy the book or the ebook. I can listen to it on my commute, and that almost is so much easier the way that I have my routine
I
structured.
my
But oh, go ahead.
my problem with like the audiobook though is that I feel like the audiobook, um, I don't know, I get more out of it. I feel like reading builds concentration,
Mhm.
and I feel like as an actor, podcaster, everything to me that these all take concentration. And I feel like when you're kind of there, I mean, you're still concentrating when you're like listening to it, but I feel like there's something about a book, reading it that just like kind of transports you to another place. I get the I think I don't know. Do you still have that same feeling when you listen to it?
No, no, I totally agree with you. I mean, when I read a book, I get so much more immersed into it. Like
Mm,
I see the world, I see everything, and I actually read pretty slow because I
yeah,
internalize every word. I don't. It's hard for me to blow through a book really quick. The only reason I would say that it's good to have it in multiple formats is because, like you said, you're of maybe a generation that likes that ease of access that can handle the downloadable versions of things, and I think
yeah,
that's great. I look at some of the older generation too, like my books, all my books I write for an adult audience, but I try to make them family friendly enough that as long as you can understand what the book is about, you can read it. So like this book, One for the Money, Two for the Soul, young teens or preteens can read that too and know what's going on and still be able to get something out of it. And in my household, my little kids,
mm,
they're not all little anymore, but I've got a 10-year-old and 13-year-old,
right.
but they
Still,
don't read anything online right now. They read everything physical copies of it.
mm,
And my grandparents and kind of that older generation, they're still on the physical copies. And then my dad, he doesn't like to read much anymore and he only listens to audiobooks. So if I only did one
yeah,
format, I tend to exclude other people who might be willing to read or listen to the book. And so I agree. I would much rather, from an artistic standpoint and a storytelling standpoint, have the book just to be read. But at the same time, from a business standpoint, I want to make it accessible to those who wouldn't get it any other way. And then it also makes for a gift. So, like, you get a grandparent who is just looking for something to give their teenager. they could actually buy this book and say, "I know this is a family-friendly book. He's a good family-friendly author," and they can actually gift a physical book a
Yeah.
lot easier with and maybe with a little more drama and flair than gifting a download
Yeah.
link.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. It's interesting because it's going back and forth. It's like, but I agree. You need it on as many formats as you possibly can to be able to be able to access. It's just I don't know. For me, I've just like kind of fallen in love with the. I like the idea of the Kindle where I can like if there's a word I don't understand, I can just look it up immediately there. I can hit the thing and it'll tell me exactly what it is. Then if I want to go more, I can go onto my iPad and look at it. Do you think it's also frustrating because we're now becoming reading is almost becoming like a niche thing, which is kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hard things about audiobooks is that it has changed that environment a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, everything's always evolving and changing though,
yeah,
and it's only going to get faster. We've talked a bit about AI and how that's changing the landscape and what's that going to do to things. And,
yeah,
some things are hype, some things aren't. But yeah, I would say that sitting down and reading our attention spans have gotten a lot shorter than they used to be. It
yeah,
used to be you could sit down and read a book, then you listen to a book, you sit down, you go to the movie theaters to watch a movie, then maybe you
yeah.
watch a shorter thing on YouTube, and now it's TikTok, like really short form content.
Now it's
I
like
mean, that's
6
one of the things.
seconds.
Oh yeah, and you've probably heard of this. The short form content, it's like TikTok videos, but a full movie broken into like
Yeah,
uh, 1 to 2-minute segments, and then, they charge you for the whole string of them, but you watch them in little segments, just little dramas, and, you know, there people's attention spans are getting shorter,
yeah.
and I don't know that that's a healthy
I
thing,
don't think it
but
is.
it's a reality that we're dealing with.
'Cause it's like you go to the movie theater now and people can't even turn off their phones for 2 hours. The phone is still, like, lighting up, and it's like you can't go to every seat and go, "Excuse me, can you turn off the phone?" You
Yeah,
know,
and you
it's
don't
a
wanna sit at the front to avoid all those glows because then you're getting
yeah,
bombarded by the
that
screen
or
there.
not. So, to me, it's just like, to me, reading in some ways is the salvation to that because it's gonna force us to use the, what's his name? I forget what his name. David Foster Wallace talked about that, like, it talked about how important it is because reading is so different from everything else we do in our life because, you do it alone. You can't really, you know, read together. I mean, you can read together, but it now it's becomes more of an audio thing. But you can't silently read together. Like it's something that only you can do and you have to do it alone. And it's kind of and it takes a concentration. But anyways, we've talked and talked about that. I just wanted to get your ideas on that, but I love that. I love your book, and I want people to buy it. One other thing I wanted to ask about that is, do you ever like talk to like Amazon? Like Amazon sometimes puts Kindle books on sale sooner than other, and sometimes that's how I'm introduced to a book. I'm like, oh, this is on sale. I might look at that, or the other thing I see is Kindle Unlimited. Some people put it on the Is that something you would want to go that route,
Yeah,
or is
so
that
there's a few tricks with Amazon, and it's not always straightforward and easy. I have called
okay?
Amazon before to get them to help me out a little bit in that end, but a lot of times if you're publishing a book and you're not going through Kindle, if you're not exclusively publishing through Kindle, because I don't exclusively publish through there,
Mm.
they will do price matching. So what you need to do is kind of
Ah,
go a roundabout way. You need to set your discount prices and get others to do that. And then you can take that to them and say, hey, look, this discount, this promo is happening here. Can you match this? And that's when they will help match you there.
yeah.
But a lot of their things, they still try to push their exclusivity. So, like
Mm.
Kindle Unlimited, you might get on their Kindle Unlimited for a brief stint here and there, but
Yeah.
they're always going to prioritize people who publish directly with their
Okay.
Kindle program. And so, yeah, there's issues with that. And so, the best way to get around that is to actually follow an author. And so, like, if you were to follow me and you got a promo from me, I could actually give you a deal on my website, which it's not as easy if you're trying to just get discovered through
Yeah.
Amazon, but it is something that it's one of the few workarounds you can do. But publishing with Amazon, if you don't want to be strictly with
Exclusive.
Amazon, it's not, they don't make it easy.
I mean, that's the truth about everything on Amazon, isn't it? Wow. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you would like to talk about?
Oh boy, I don't know. We've covered quite a bit, and you've been a great host, and I've
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed the I love the flow of the conversation that you have on here.
Well, thank
Just
you.
very easy to talk about. So yeah, I would think that we probably covered just about everything. Though I would like to let your audience know how they can actually get a
We
copy of One
we
for the Money, Two for the Soul for free. Because
we
I mean,
will get to
obviously, I
that.
want to make money. I want to sell these books, but
No, we
I
we will
also want
get
to
to
get brand
that.
recognition.
But I'd like to do that. I would like to do that at the end, because we
Oh,
still
okay.
got. I got a few. I'm going to get to my inside the actors studio questions. They're just the questions I ask
Oh yeah, yeah, sure,
every
yeah.
single. But before we get to that, what does the future hold?
Oh, so the future for me. So I'm gonna keep writing books. I'm gonna keep writing screenplays. I'm gonna keep posting things on YouTube, and I've got a podcast channel which I've started, which really ties in a lot with my YouTube
Yeah,
channel. And
yeah,
so I'm
I saw
gonna,
that.
yeah, so I'm working on those kind of things, and that stuff I just want to continue doing, and I'm hoping that that helps other creatives like me, but who are maybe starting on their journey, get a little bit of a feel for how they can also do it. Because there's no way that I'd be able to support my family doing what I'm doing right now, at least not for a couple of years. And so I'm a big proponent of making sure that your family's taken care of first, but also still finding a way to pursue your creative dreams. The the kind of the long-term goal here is that I'm using my real estate construction background also to set myself up financially so that I can build my actual film studio here in Utah. Utah's not a big film hub, and frankly, the model of having your own warehouse, your own studio, and then renting it out to others, it's not usually all that viable. It 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 hasn't worked very well in areas around here, maybe for 1 or 2 people, but they're kind of niche things. But I do have a plan to, create my own studio, my own sound stages, gonna have
Ah,
the LED environments within those, and I can start, uh, creating my content, or not just my content, my actual feature films in that environment. And then, when people around me want to film something also, I'll have that available for them. It'll be for all creatives. I mean, if you're
yeah.
a podcaster or a photographer and you want to take advantage of some of the setup I'm going to have there, then great. But yeah, that's kind of the goal. I'm working through city red tape right now to actually get that build. I've got the property already, so yeah,
Well, that's
there's
awesome. That
it's a
so
fun venture.
entrepreneur is the other thing I got to add to your list of credentials.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work to get to this point, but it's rewarding, and frankly, it's what I wanna do. And
Yeah.
I had a lot of people ask me, it's like, "Why are you leaving your relatively safe, comfortable job? You're making good money. Why are you leaving that to do this?" And it's like, "Well, I'm
They're not
43 right now.
creatives.
If I don't do it now, I'm gonna get stuck here and never be able to do what I want to over here." And I've been working for 10 years to get to this point. I Why wouldn't I pursue my dreams? Life's too short. You gotta do what you what you're passionate about, but do it smartly.
Yeah. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.